there. It is I, the terrific lady, otherwise known as Brandy, and welcome to the first of my regular review reaction videos. I finally figured out how I wanted to do them. Heard y'all loud and clear when you said that you like the shorter kind of reaction videos, so those are the ones that I'm mainly going to be doing. Now, that's not to say that I won't do bigger reaction videos, but I'll save those for just like really kind of movies that, you know, movies that are like Terrifier 2 is one that I'm going to do a bigger, longer reaction for. But anyway, yeah, this is part of the pause section of Retro Rewind, where Retro Rewind, I like to focus on movies that are 5 years old or more, but sometimes I like to pause and give attention to the newer aspects, the newer horror aspects in movies. Now, that's what this video is going to be about. A movie called Fall. And it is about a group of 3 friends, Becky, Hunter, and Dan. Becky and Dan are married to each other, and at the beginning of the movie, it goes kind of vertical limit. Oh, let me pause here. There's going to be spoilers going from here on out, so if you aren't down with spoilers, then pause this, watch the movie, come back. Alright, so 3 friends. Becky, Hunter, and Dan. Becky and Dan are married to each other. It's going vertical limit. They're climbing up this rock face. The carabine loosens, and Dan falls with it to his death. Becky, of course, is very upset. She's in the throes of grief. Her dad's trying to get her out of it, and he can't. So he ends up calling her friend Hunter, and Hunter is like, hey, like, come on, like, I'm going to be climbing this big ass radio tower, this TV radio tower, and it would be a good time for you to scatter Dan's ashes, your husband's ashes. And so, like, okay, but then, of course, things go horribly wrong, and they end up stuck on the top of that tower. It's 2,000 fucking feet in the air, and then they have to figure out how to get down. And that is the basis of Fall. Now, Fall, what I liked about it, I thought the cinematography and some of the shots were they're pretty freaking cool. I read a little bit of trivia that they were never more than 100 feet off of the ground at any one given time. And that kind of shows you that the tricks they could do with cinematography to make it seem like it's 2,000 feet off the ground. There was a really good twist. I'm not going to spoil that. I'm going to let you figure that out for yourself, but there is a really good twist. And it did a really good job for the most part of building up that fear and tension. If you're afraid of heights, like I am definitely afraid and terrified of heights. You're going to be like, now, with that being said, there were some very cliched and telegraphed moments. So, what happens when you have 3 people together? There's going to be like either a love triangle, or you're going to find out that someone has cheated like on the other one, and da-da-da. Well, that's exactly what ends up happening. You found out that Dan ends up sleeping with Becky's best friend, Hunter, and that was the thing. So that was the thing. And the whole just like, oh, I can't reach the bag. Like a bag like fell. They had a bag of supplies and the bag fell. It's like, oh, I can't reach the bag. It's just out of reach. And they had a drone and they tried to use the drone to tie a note to it and get help. It's just like, oh, the drone's almost there. The bam, gets hit by a truck. Just things like that. And then the end, again, that's a spoiler. This is a spoiler too. The end was kind of anticlimactic in a way. So finally, long story short, she ends up being able to get just like this cell signal because she's able to jump down to the TV kind of dishes that are stuck to the tower. And she ends up getting the phone down. I'm not going to tell you how. And she ends up like, before the phone gets dropped down to the ground, she ends up getting a message off to her dad. Like, Dad, I'm sick of top of the terror, call 911. And then like he rushes out there, and like all the cops and stuff, the rescue people are already out there, and that's just kind of like, I was expecting a dramatic ass rescue, and I didn't get that. And the one part I thought was so like fucking like, what? Was her leg ends up getting hurt after, you know, all the bullshit that goes up on like on the tower. Her leg gets scratched, like gashed, and she's obviously bleeding, and there's necrosis, I think that's the right term, dead skin there. Her leg like fucking probably smells, and then her dad's like, they have a tearful reunion, like, I'm sorry, I love you, I'm sorry, let's go. And then the dad's like, let's go home. It's like, but what about her putrid leg? And the fact that she killed a vulture up at the top of the tower that was bothering her. So obviously she's eating diseased vulture meat. It's just like, what about her leg? What about the fact that she dehydrated? And it's probably like all this bunch of nasty bacteria shit inside of her from eating this vulture. Are we gonna do anything about that? Nope, let's go home. The end. But oh boy. Like I said, this movie was meh. I mean, it was alright. It's not something I could really ever see myself watching again. But if you're interested in it, I watched it on Stars. I'm sure there's other places that you could watch it and stream it. But yeah, it's worth a one-time watch for me. That's my verdict. One-time watch, and I can never revisit it again. So, until next time, stay terrific, and make sure that you are keeping an eye on my channel, and subscribe if you want to see more of these reaction reviews. Ta-ta!